Creighton Wong, my friend, so grateful to have you here today. Welcome to the Human to Human podcast.
Awesome, man. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this.
Super excited, and it's 2 a.m. where you are right now. So walk me through how you're feeling knowing that I'm over here at 3 p.m.
It's been, boy, like I was telling you earlier, man, we're working on US time, and I've been working on a big project here. So 4 a.m. has been my normal bedtime for the last 2 weeks. And then I got screwed up this morning, even worse, because I set the alarm for 7 a.m. and I watched my Oakland Raiders play in Las Vegas at 7:15 a.m. this morning and get a win. But yeah, there was right after the game, I passed out.
Well, man, I'm grateful that you're here at 2 a.m. your time. I hope we can make the most out of this next hour that we have together. And I'm really excited to talk all things relationship, both personal, business relationships, really getting to know your clients better than they know themselves. And also, I love how you say that every business relationship should be seen as a partnership and that your clients are not a commodity. So I'm really excited for this conversation. And
Absolutely.
Before we dive into the meat of it, tell me a little bit about who Creighton is today and what brought you here.
Yeah, man. I mean, I could spend the whole hour on this because, it's an eclectic background, from animal physiology and neuroscience and undergraduate work to law school to, building a $1 million company to learning how to code and wanting to work in apps and technology. To building my own app and getting completely burned by a marketing company. And then I learned how to do marketing on my own. And I really liked it. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It gave me there's a data-driven logic to it that satisfies, my science left brain but at the same time there's the right brain creativity, because you put so much as the wrong image in front of the wrong person, it's not going to resonate with them. And so and then kind of concurrently with all of that work and business and school, I kind of late in my life, in my 30s, learned how to ride a bike. To give your listeners a little background, I'm an above knee amputee. I loved it. I miss my bike so badly right now, and I just want to go out and have that wind against my face and pound pedals up a hill. And that took me into the sport of triathlon, which was just an absolutely rewarding, I don't know, it's about an 8 or 9 year career in there. And
that's incredible.
Yeah. Got me up to the world championships out in Budapest once upon a time, and such iconic races like Ironman and Escape from Alcatraz. And then I had my love for travel too, so I just started traveling and doing the whole digital nomad thing, and that's why you find me at 2 a.m. on a podcast in Ho Chi Minh City.
Man, can I ask? I think a lot of listeners are going to resonate with the being burned on the marketing side of things. Can I ask you to dive a bit into that?
Yeah, man. I mean, I had this great idea, and I went and I spent a lot of time and a lot of energy, executing it. And this is my mistake, and this is the mistake that, if your listeners are paying attention, they can't make. I abdicated my responsibility. I gave the marketing responsibility to a marketing firm, only to find out they didn't have any sort of smarts or idea or whatever to figure out how to do it. But the mistake isn't with them, right? I hired poorly, number one. And number two, I abdicated the responsibility. I gave the responsibility away, and I didn't stay on top of them and say, dude, what are you doing? Why are we, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months into this campaign, and I've got zero ROI? I mean, Now, I was about as green gets on that. So, maybe give myself a little bit of a break, but at the end of it all, it was, it's 1,000% on me. And so, here's the deal, for anybody who's thinking, oh gosh, I need to outsource it, but I'm pretty darn scared about outsourcing, the marketing or really any part, the web development, the like the sales, whatever it may be. I mean, first of all, just you need to get familiar with it enough so that you can speak intelligently about it. You don't have to master it. Okay. Number one. Number two, if you're looking for a silver bullet or a one size fits all or a magic bullet, it doesn't exist. Well, like it doesn't exist anywhere. But there's plenty of guys that are willing to sell that to you. If you want a bag of magic beans, somebody will sell you a bag of magic beans. Don't be disappointed when it doesn't, give you a bean. So what you really want to look for is coming in and listening to what your wants are, your needs are, and really sees it as a partnership. All right. Anybody who's trying to lock you into a long-term deal, 12-month deal, 3-year deal, they're charlatans. There's just no reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
Find somebody that is going to have the mentality that they're going to earn your business every single month over and over and over again. Because if they don't have that kind of confidence and they need to lock you in a 3-year contract, you should wonder why.
Well said.
Be scared about that.
What gave you then I can see how that would be a complete nightmare to deal with. What gave you, or was that the inspiration then to start your own marketing firm?
Yeah, I banged my head against that for a while, and then yeah, I just it was kind of one of those happy accidents. I started educating myself on it. I loved the material, like I couldn't get enough of it, and then I started actually working on it, and I enjoyed that quite a bit, and getting some incredible results. And again, there's a certain satisfaction with the fact that it is data driven. This isn't about, do you feel good about your campaign or not? It's, is the campaign working or not? The stats, the data will tell us. And then at the same time, there's a certain elegance that comes with the creativity that goes with putting together a successful campaign. That there's a certain creativity that's had. I had a client come on. We onboarded her last week, and she's like, so-and-so could do it for this price and this price or this price. And I was like, if that's what you want, go hire them. But I guarantee you, this is what you're not getting from them, and them. Because unfortunately in my business, and really almost any digital business that's out there, there's a horrible race to the bottom.
Mm-hmm. What do you think was the ultimate decision that led her to hire you when she was talking about, hey, this guy's cheaper, that company's cheaper?
I thought it was funny because I'm like, well, you're still talking to me for a reason. So that I'm better than all the other guys that you're talking to. But we've obviously got to kind of come to a meeting of the minds here. And it's funny because once I finish the initial project, she's like, I'm so glad I have you on here. But I had to educate her. I had to explain. I'm like, mm-hmm. This is the thought and the experience and the strategy that goes behind why this is a better way to do what you're doing, so that you can achieve the results you want to achieve.
Marketing is such a love-hate relationship. I think many people have such a love-hate relationship with marketing. I spend
Sure.
most of my days, most of my weeks talking to business owners, entrepreneurs, and I don't know if I've ever had one person come up to me and say, "Oh my God, you should have seen the return on this marketing campaign." Like, oh my, it's always the other stories. It's always like, "Oh, I got killed," or "Oh, and like ads don't work for me. Oh, this thing is like, I'm not a funnel and webinar, like blah, blah, blah." What, I guess, where do you see a lot of entrepreneurs make mistakes when it comes to their own marketing?
There's a couple places. The first is, like I mentioned earlier, trying to find that magic bullet, or that one size fits all. There's somebody that's got a solution for you somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
They all promise really big. So I think that's the big problem, and then just really not understanding the process and what it's all about. So we teach this, we preach this. At the end of the day, say I bring you on, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sit you through an interview, because I want to know as much as I possibly can about you, your business, your competitors, your industry, your wants, your needs, your goals. Like, in other words, what makes this, a successful campaign? Because then and only then can I start crafting, a campaign for you. And so, then it's to understand the process. Like, we take all this data, and then we make the game plan. But at the end of the day, the game plan, it's just a hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the old Mike Tyson quote: "Everybody's got a game plan until you get punched in the face." and so, what we teach is, it's like, look, do the research, get the data. The data drives the game plan. Then after the game plan is set, you then execute. And during the execution, it's just whatever. It's the same thing like a football game or a base. You get down 21 points in the first quarter. Guess what? Your game plan's out the window. You better figure out something else that's going to work. And so what is that? It's the receiving the data in real time and making the adjustments. And so that's where the attention to detail and the partnership comes into play, because you want to keep making those little micro adjustments that then lead to big success. It's the proverbial, I'm digging and digging and digging, but I'm 3 feet away from the vein of gold. Like, it's these tiny little changes that can be the difference ultimately between a failed campaign and a multi-million-dollar campaign. Just keep tweaking over and over. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing too is also expectations. To get the business, there's a lot of people who don't focus on just delivering value, because they sell the dream. And at the end of it, it's like I said, it's like it's actually kind of unsexy. It's like we take this hypothesis, we get the results, and then we just kind of keep inch by inch go, improve upon it. It's really, it's really that simple. But if you think you're going to go out there and pay $250 a month for, somebody to write articles and do your SEO campaign, I'm like, guess what? You're going to get what you deserve. You're going to get exactly what you deserve, because there's no way that anybody, in for example, I'm in the US, is writing that. They're farming it out to somebody that they're paying for $5 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get a $5 an hour quality article that's being published on your website. By the way, that's a reflection on you.
Mm.
I talked to, go ahead.
This is so fascinating. What are look at some of your most successful clients or your most successful campaigns. What would you say are some characteristics of the most successful campaigns that you've run? And also, what are the characteristics of some of your best clients?
Yeah. So, I mean, from a campaign standpoint, some of it is, where are you starting, right? So, in other words, if you're coming to us and you've been in business for a while, and even if you've been dabbling in digital marketing and failing, or you had somebody else that you hired who didn't do a good, like, even if you've not been successful before, but you've generated assets and you've generated equity, meaning, a following or purchases or buyers. I mean, those are the campaigns that are they're so easy to work with, because if you've already identified who your ideal client is, and you've already got, say, I don't know, 10,000, 1,000, 150 emails, of that ideal client, like, all we're doing now is we actually don't have to, like, the hypothesis is a stronger hypothesis, because now we're just implementing strategy, because you've got the assets to deploy. You just don't know how to deploy them correctly. And so those campaigns are the ones that catch fire quickly, and are worth a lot. And from a clientele standpoint, really, we look at every single client, first of all, as a partner. We're getting into a partnership, because if we're not successful for you, you're not going to keep hiring us every month after month. We don't do any long-term contracts. Everything's month to month. But the most successful guys are the ones that, when we explain the expectations and, what we're going to try and do, and they have the patience to be able to allow for the data to come back, the adjustments to go on, and, they'll see the return on investment. The first goal, the first marker is, let's get you in the black. Let's get you so that our relationship with you, you're already profitable. Then let's 10x that, and, get it so that you're super profitable, and, maybe we can increase the budget and really go crazy. Or maybe we can add another line of marketing on top of that. But the first thing we want to do is, it's like, let's get you up and running, and let's get you in the black. And so, from a clientele standpoint, it's people who understand those mathematics really well, and also have, the right budget and patience to be able to execute with that. I've had plenty of clients where I'm like, you know what? I don't think we're a good fit. I think where you're at in the maturation of your business, or, with the budget that you have, you know what? You're going to have to go on YouTube, and you're going to have to DIY it for a while, at least long enough for you to get some revenue to be able to invest in these things with house money.
Yep. Makes sense to me, man. And when someone comes to you for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
Creighton, my business is this good or it's this bad. Like, I've tried everything, nothing works for me. Like, how is your company going to be different? I guess, what are some of the most common objections that you are dealing with today?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the hardest parts about being successful in our industry is there's no barrier for entry, right? So I sit there and say, hey, look, have you ever made a Facebook post? Have you ever posted on your page? Cool, you're a social media marketer. Congratulations. It's like, hey, have you ever written a sentence in your life, or a paragraph even? Cool, you're a copywriter, right? Like, there's no, hey, look, if I want to be an attorney, or if I want to be a doctor, like, I've got to go to school for X amount of years, and I've got to get pass said exam and get certain certifications. There's none of that. So there's anybody can hold out a shingle is the difficult part. And so to anybody who's looking, just like ask the questions that I'm being asked right now, like and find out what those answers are. And if you don't like those answers, follow your intuition and go to the next guy or find the next guy. Like, take your time. Right. So back when I, made my mistake, I didn't really vet or the guy. He was just a friend of a friend. And so I kind of made the assumption that, he was an honest guy. And then I didn't interview multiple companies. And so that was kind of frustrating too, because it was like, man, I should have done, like, I did so many things wrong on my first time out, and everything. So I think that's one of the hardest things, is that, anybody can open up a shingle. It's like coaching, right? You probably have a fair amount of coaches listening to this. Have you lived life? Sure. Cool. You're a life coach. Now, I don't mean that to degrade all the excellent life coaches out there.
Right.
But I say that to illustrate that's what you're dealing with. There's always another life coach out there that's competing with you, that might be promising bigger than you, even dishonestly, charging cheaper than you, right? The race to the bottom, right? There's just so many different things that go with that.
Yeah. And I can, going back to something you said earlier, you said that when you're working with businesses, when you're working with brands, you think every business relationship should be seen as a partnership. And I totally agree with that. What, I guess, I'm not going to talk about competitors. I'm not going to talk about competition, but when it comes to the marketing space, and you do hear a lot of these false and empty promises, right? You talk to a company, hey, we can generate this ROI for you. We can do this for you. They might show you a couple blogs or case studies or testimonials. It's pretty easy to screenshot anything these days as well. And that's not what I'm implying. What I'm getting at is how do you build that true partnership with a potential client so that they're successful and you're successful too?
Sure. I think the first thing is very simple. At the end of the day, we don't own a B2C or a B2B business. We have an H to H business. It's a human to human connection. And just like a personal relationship, you've got to build the know, like, and trust factors and be that person. And if you're just running your mouth trying to close a deal, you're going to trick a few people, but most people figure that out. For anybody who's getting into the marketing game or any business game, where you're trying to bring on clientele, do more listening than you do talking. Learn to ask those questions about the person. I mean, I remember when, the more I focused on asking questions, the more people would open up to me. And when you get somebody to open up to you, because here's the deal, right? We always ask, okay, what is it you want? What is it you need? And honestly, you've got to be able to probably delve down about 5 or 6 levels of why. Why is that important to you? To really find out what actually motivates somebody. Now, by the way, if you ask somebody the question why, like a little 3-year-old, 5 or 6 times, if they don't like you, they're going to get pretty annoyed with you pretty quickly.
But to your point, that's where all the meat is. That's where the real truth is.
So it's like, oh, why do you want to be successful? I want to make more money. Everybody says that. I want to make, but why? And so you got to get into, okay, what are their personal goals? What are their personal dreams? What's the deal with their legacy? Like, what are they trying to accomplish here? It's not just about making money. It's also maybe about um, a mission or building up something different. I asked this question yesterday to a college student that I was mentoring, and it took me a couple tries to get it out of her, but she's just like, she finally said, I'm pissed. I'm pissed because every time I brought up some sort of entrepreneurial dream, all my teachers, all my principals stomped it out of me. And I just want to prove them wrong. It's like, okay, now we've got some, like, now we're starting to get somewhere. And so, you start thinking about it. Why do you spend, say, 40 hours or 80 hours a week on your business? Like, what's driving you to do it? That's a lot of time. It's a lot of time to be spending on a business. So why is your business so important to you? Because if we can find out what your why is, now all of a sudden that becomes the foundation for how we want to communicate with your ideal customers, your ideal clients. Because that's the meat of it. That's what we want to actually convey. Think about that. Why do you want to do digital marketing for my business? Because I want to make more money. Like, who's gonna like, I'm a mercenary. I want to make, no, nobody's gonna ever do that. There's a great, I think it's one of the most popular TED Talks in the history of TED Talks with Simon Sinek. And he goes through that.
Start with why, yeah.
Start with why. And I probably watch that once or twice a year just to remind myself. It's not about what you do. It's not even about how you do it. It's about why you do it. And if you can just get that deep into things, now you start resonating with people. Now that human to human connection starts happening. Now that I've got it, when somebody says, I've got a good feeling about you, right? It's because you know what your why is, and it permeates everything that you do.
Yeah, I love that, man. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And to your point, it's something I like to revisit at least once or twice a year too. And he does this exercise called the golden circle. Yeah. And it's like the what, the how, and the why, and how typically businesses and entrepreneurs, they start with the what, then they talk about the how, and then a small part of their messaging is about their why. And his philosophy is really quite the opposite. Start with the why, then the what, then the how, something like that. But yeah,
you're spot on.
Your conversation about diving into that 6th or 7th layer of why, and having that kid-like mentality of just asking questions and being okay with making people feel a little bit uncomfortable, because you ask, surface level questions, you're going to get surface level responses. And true partnerships, true relationships, true connection happens when you're able to connect on that deeper level and actually resonate.
And I would say this for everybody that's listening, whether you do it once a year, once a month, or just once ever in your life, just think about what you're doing and go write down why you want to do it. Then write the word why and go down another level. And by the way, you might not be able to do it in one sitting. Like, it's actually really hard. I remember the first time I was doing it, and I was like, what am I doing here? And it's like, I really got to think about this.
And here's the thing I learned myself, and my girlfriend called me out on it, because I've done this exercise a couple times. Simon Sinek also has another book. I think it's called Discover Your Why. It's like,
okay.
So he's got 2. And when I did the exercise about my why, I thought I was going deep, but what came up was still surface level. And she looked at it. I spent an hour doing this. I was so proud of this exercise. Yeah, exactly. I show her, I'm like, hey babe, like, look at what I just did for the last hour. And like, I dug deep and I found my why. And she looked at it for 2 minutes and was like,
stomped on you.
She's like, if I can be really honest with you, you need to go 10 layers deeper. And then she did the exercise with me. She was kind of like the interviewer asking me questions. Holy crap, dude. It got emotional. It got deep. Like, I really got to the heart of it. And I walked away just feeling like motivated, inspired, and just affirmed that my why is a lot greater than I can even articulate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so we went to a portrait photographer that's pretty popular here in, Vietnam. And, and by the way, his work was great. We spent, we probably spent an hour and a half at the gallery. My wife's like, we got to go. And I'm like, oh, but I love it here. Like I could just sit here for hours and everything. Um, and, uh, you know, it was great. And then I jumped online and was surfing around, his website, and I was getting into like understanding him and why he's doing what he's doing, and and how he gives back, and all it was this awesome deep dive into why he takes these portrait pictures. And all of a sudden it's like, now one of my goals is to go up to his gallery in Hoi An. I'm like, I want to meet this guy. Like, I just want to have a conversation with this guy. Like that would just be so incredible, because his mindset and his why just resonated the hell out of me. Like I totally connected with that. And everything. And so, because I mean, think about it. Anybody can, right? So here's another low entry for, low bar for entry. Everybody's a photographer now. Everybody walks around this planet with a camera in their pocket. Why would I be willing to buy his work versus yours? I've got a story behind it. I've got,
Mm-hmm.
I've got more than just a photograph, and his photographs are incredible.
Man, yeah, I could not agree more with this approach. And where I'd love to take this next is the importance of getting to know your clients better than they know themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Is something that you hear a lot about. Meet them where they're at, meet them in the conversations that they're already having in their head. And I think about sometimes when I'm trying to put myself in that state, I'm trying to think about, okay, like, who is my ideal customer? How do I get to know them better than they know themselves?
Mm-hmm.
What conversations are they having in their head? How are you able to create an atmosphere or an approach where you're able to do that successfully? I think about, again, a lot of the people I talk to, they understand the importance of speaking their customer's language and getting in their head, but they just don't know where to start. And I would love to hear your approach to that.
Yeah, no, I think that this is one of many, many topics in our realm, in our world, where like everybody gets it, nobody knows how to implement it, right? Um, and so I think there's two routes. The first is, and this is why people say, hey, look, kind of, if you're getting into marketing, stay in your lane a little bit, because you probably already know the conversations because you've already had them with yourself, right? So whatever industry you're in, and then you get into marketing, whether you're, I don't know, a coach, dentist, chiropractor, a lawyer, on down the road, you've been through the muck. You've walked down that path, and so how frustrating it is. How frustrating it is to open up this brilliant retail store and nobody comes in, and you're just fighting for scraps, right? So then, now that you've got a solution for that person, you've got to take yourself, pretend like you have your own personal Wayback Machine. You take yourself way back to when you had your retail store and you were just fighting over scraps. What were the conversations going on in your own head? And by the way, that's one of the biggest challenges that a lot of these coaches have that are successful. It's like, yeah, you know how to take somebody from, I don't know, 10 grand a month revenue to 30 grand a month revenue. Man, can you take somebody from 0 to 1,000? Do you remember what it's like? Do you remember begging for work when nobody else would give you a shot? Do you remember thinking that oh, I'm going to get my big break right now, only to find out that you didn't have the portfolio that somebody was comfortable hiring, even though you knew you had the talent or the team or the whatever to deliver and deliver better than the other guy.
I think about that all the time.
Right. We've all been there. So that's why a lot of times it's stay in your lane. If you've already had the conversation, you just got to remember those conversations. And that's why, by the way, it's really smart to diary all this stuff. Full disclosure, I haven't done it, right? But you diary all the stuff, and then you can look back and be like, oh man, yeah, there's a reason I forgot that day, because I want to forget that day. But that day, that bad day, is the reason that you can connect with these people who are stuck in this bad day because they're on the same path but further behind. Now, let's say you're offering it to a niche, a vertical, whatever you want to call it, that you have no relationship to, right? You have no personal experience. Well, then this just comes down to learning how to ask great questions. And number two, just listening a lot. And because what ends up happening is if you have enough of those conversations over and over and over again, you will start to see the patterns. The patterns will start revealing yourself. You're like, you know what? This little thing here keeps coming up. So I might want to solve that problem because that might be really, really valuable. And, and by the way, most people already do it, because what do? The first thing you do in sales is, besides you get all your questions, blah, 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 but there's going to be an objection sheet. So what do? You start paying attention to all the objections, all the reasons that people are saying no, so that you start having a good answer. Or if you're really smart about it, you answer it before somebody asks the question, so you head it off.
Yep. That's been one of my favorite approaches lately in any sort of conversation like that, especially around business, is oftentimes what the entrepreneurs do. They wait to reveal their price at the very last second. They've invested an hour, 2 hour into demos, calls, this and that. And it's like, yeah, this is great. How much is it? You're like, oh, it's just $10,000. And the other person's like, next.
Yeah. And I think the hard part with that is that comes down to qualifying your potential client.
Totally.
You need to know, and you need to be able to recognize whether it's a good fit or not. One of my best friends, owns a restaurant. It's a small, tiny little restaurant without a whole lot of tabletops, and I give him free advice all the time. But I also know that he will probably never be a client of mine, because it's just not a good fit. Like, I know the numbers, I know the math doesn't work. No matter how much he can like me or want to do me a favor, I'm like, you might as well just give me money for free, right? Like, just, but don't pay for something that you don't need. And so there's this push pull in the business, right? We have to do a better job, meaning us as marketers, of qualifying our clients, number one, and then setting those expectations for exactly what they're going to get. Because if somebody's going to drop $10,000 on something, you better have a really good answer for what they're about to get, right? Because that's a lot of money. But having said that, for those who are looking for a digital marketing firm, you got to understand, you can't be looking for the filet mignon surf and turf dinner with the vintage Napa wine and wanting to pay Big Mac prices. Like, there's an incongruency there. So you got to meet where it's a good fit.
I love that. analogy. I might borrow that for some conversations. I love it.
Well, but it's true, you know. I mean, it's like, you know, it's I mean, how many, you know, the funny thing about food is it's like, it's really never about the price. It's always about the perceived value that you get out of it. Because you can go to a fancy restaurant and feel ripped off, and you can go to a cheap restaurant and feel like, man, I just got the greatest value.
Totally.
So you walk out of that restaurant, I paid more over here, but I felt better about my experience over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep, absolutely.
so you have to start thinking about it, right? If I, you know, if I can only afford freelancer pricing, then I'm looking for a freelancer, and I'm looking for somebody who can do it, do a good job, recognizing that maybe they can or they can't, you know, and and that's the level that you're going to get. If you want an account manager that's going to meet with you once a week and tell you everything that they're doing in the past week and everything that they're going to do in the upcoming week, and then you have multiple experts, right? So you get a freelancer to build a website. They can build websites, no problem. They probably use a template and this and that. Okay. You want higher level stuff. You want somebody who's specifically good at visual design. There's a visual designer for that. You want somebody to execute the back end code for you. There's a back end developer for that. Do you want something that is going to make your clientele super happy? Yeah, that's called a UX UI manager, user experience, user interface, manager. Okay, you want this website to convert? All right, you need a copywriter, right? You need a team of experts in these, you know, different disciplines to do the job for you. It just depends what you want. If you think you can copyright it, fine. You don't need a copywriter.
Find the person for the job instead of the jack of all trades, and then try to lowball them and expect the world.
Yeah, you know, and so really a lot of this is it's kind of like hiring a general contractor. The general contractor is not doing all the work. He's got his electrician who's an expert. He's got his plumber who's an expert. He's got his woodworker who's an expert. He's got his roofer that's an expert. And he brings those guys in so that you can get excellence everywhere instead of, like you said, a jack of all trades, master of none.
Creighton, I've got 4 final questions before we wrap.
Right.
The first is, what is a tip, tactic, strategy that a business owner could implement into their business today to get a higher ROI on their marketing?
Boy, I actually preach and teach, you know, to stay away from falling in love with tactics, right? Because there's always going to be a shiny object that comes on board. I believe the shiny object right now is TikTok. Everything's TikTok, and you know, and who knows? You know, maybe TikTok's, you know, here to stick around, or maybe it'll go the way of the dodo, or some of these other, you know, platforms that were I can't even remember the platform that, oh man, I just got yelled at for so many times. You got to use this, you got to use this. And I don't remember it, but really, you know, it's less of a tactic, and it's more of, you know, whether you're on LinkedIn and messaging people, or whether you're creating, you know, social media, you know, don't be reactive. Don't try and do what the other guy's doing because they're successful at it, or whatever. You know, I can write the greatest tweet in the world, or Instagram post in the world. I'm still not going to get like 150,000 likes within the first 10 minutes, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Okay, just not. And don't expect that from me too. But you know, I think it's so important today to really be yourself, and to really be authentic, and to try and create that human to human, you know, contact and connection. If you're just looking, if you're looking to score $1, I think it's going to end poorly, and you're going to create a bad relationship. And so if we really focus on knowing ourselves, knowing the value that we bring to the table, and being genuine and authentic about that, you're going to still win some, you're still going to lose some, but you're ultimately going to attract the people that believe in your why. It goes back to that Simon Sinek TED Talk, people don't buy what you have to sell, service or product. What they do is they buy what you believe in, because they want to validate what they believe in. And you'll make that connection. So like I said, whatever you're doing, you're doing messaging on Facebook, you're doing paid ads, it doesn't matter what the tactic is. Just be real, be authentic, and you'll get the right people to connect with you.
Love that, man. Just be. Next question. What are you most excited about in the next 60 days?
Boy, I've got some big projects, on my plate right now. I got an NDA on one, so I can't talk about it, but it's a pretty big platform that we're, developing, and, it's in startup phase, and, boy, that's going to suck up a lot of my time and a lot of my bandwidth, but it's pretty exciting. And we're going to try and launch this thing, by the first of the year. And it's going to be a platform that's going to help a lot of the businesses, in a post-pandemic, world, out there. And then, that's just really the biggest thing. And then just kind of personally, cause we try and balance work and life, I'm, my goal is I want to get back on an airplane. I want to go travel. Like, I don't complain too much about the pandemic. It in my world, in my life, all it's been is just a inconvenience, to be honest. But one of the inconveniences is I've not been able to explore as much as I would like, and so I look forward to getting back to exploring.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. Creighton, are there any books that have impacted you as a person, as a business owner? Any books that you've recommended to people in your network?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're going to get into this game and become a digital marketer or a digital agency, or if you're just starting up a business, there's a couple, tried and true books that I like and I enjoy. There's always the classic and stuff, Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But, two of the books that I've read recently that kind of shaped me is E-Myth, specifically E-Myth Revisited, and Built to Sell. And it's really about building systems within your business so that your business isn't entirely dependent on you. Because if you ever want to get out of your business, you want to sell it, and it's not you're going to sell the business. You want to build it in such a way where it's actually a sellable asset. And so those two are really, really important for anybody who thinks that they want to get into good. What is it? Expert Secrets. .com Secrets, Expert Secrets, and then Traffic Secrets.
Right, right.
I think those are pretty good reads. And yeah, I need to add some more fiction books into my repertoire.
And my last question.
Yeah.
My last question, one of my favorite questions. Tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Everyone wakes up. Every city, every country, every continent wakes up tomorrow morning. They open up their curtains, and everybody in the world is looking at the exact same billboard, except tomorrow, Creighton gets to control the message of the billboard for everyone to see. What message would you share with the world?
Boy, with everything that's going on, I think that we really need to focus on forgiveness. And to me, forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's really a very personal thing, you know. We've all been on this roller coaster of life, especially in the last, couple months, and then you see the social unrest in my country, the United States. You see the social unrest, a lot of the hate speech that's going on, and to me, forgiveness is really about letting things go, there's a quote by Oprah that I the moment I saw, like, I don't remember anything on point, and I remembered it. She said, forgiveness is letting go that the past somehow could have been different. And if we can just stop holding on to the contracts and the stories and the bullshit that sorry about that, that we tell, we tell ourselves, and just, learn to let it go, and forgive ourselves for all the mistakes that we've made. I told you guys a story about, how I messed up, and boy, I beat myself up over that for a long time, and to the point where I got stuck. Like, I was stuck for a while, and I needed to be able to move forward with that. And so that would be the billboard and the reminder. And because if we can free ourselves from the bad memories and the bad emotional juju, if you will, then we've got the energy and the freedom to be able to just, like, do incredible things. But when I see all the hate and all the anger out there, I just, what I see is a lot of people who are stuck. We got to unstuck ourselves.
I love that, dude. This has been such an incredible conversation. You are such a beautiful soul to talk to. You're so easy to talk to. Where can people best find you online?
Yeah, man. Jump on LinkedIn, just look under Creighton Wong. And I love connecting with people. I love listening to your stories and what you're doing, personally and in business. My company is exponentialclients.com. So you can just find it at exponentialclients.com, and hidden down at the bottom is my email if you want to shoot me an email. But I'm not a hard guy to get a hold of, and I enjoy rapping and helping people as best I can.
Well, man, this was an absolute honor. Thank you so much for waking up, or I'm sure you're already awake, but being online and on time at 2 a.m. your time. Much appreciated, my friend. Really grateful to have spoke to you today.
Absolutely. This was a pleasure. And yeah, so when I open up the drapes tomorrow morning, it might be 2 in the afternoon.